And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, brought to you by Fox One, part of the Foul Territory Network. Hey, Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who, when asked how many times per week he goes to the gym, he goes 6, 7. Hey, how you doing?
I'm not that young. I'm getting a little too old for some of this stuff. No, I'm doing all right. I am doing good. We got the World Series coming up. Unfortunately, the Tigers aren't in it, but there's still plenty to talk about as we look back on the 2025 season. A little bit of looking ahead, and even a little bit of World Series talk coming your way.
Yeah, so let's start out. Speaking of things that age you, I feel like this Skubal trade or not trade or sign or whatever extend, the situation will and has aged both of us through the next
We're a week into this, man.
until there's a resolution one way or another. It's definitely something that gets the people going, which we appreciate. That's a lot of fun. If you guys haven't gone and listened or watched on YouTube our last episode, we went through like scenarios, like what kind of trade would make sense, threw some names out there. It's not perfect. I had a gaffe in there, so I apologize for that.
A Giants player and a Mets trade.
Yeah.
Hey, we make mistakes too. All right.
Yeah. It was an error. It was an error on my part, right? So, some people were appreciative. Some people thought like it wasn't a worthy topic, but I do think it was a good thought exercise. And like anything else, when we do this, Cody, like afterward, you see stuff, you think back a little bit, and you're like, did I get everything that I kind of wanted to get out? And I'll say this from my end, I like the more it just like gets kind of fed the machine, like the social media machine, like this notion of trading Skubal, especially to the Mets, the more I'm like, that's not happening. Like it's not a very scientific way to look at it, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's too much buzz with not a lot of sizzle without steak, I guess would be an expression right now. And it's hard. Like the more I thought about it, the more I just was like, it's not going to happen. No, like, I don't know. Like in the past couple of days, you've like thought about this. Like any other sort of like secondary thoughts about the Skubal situation as it stands right now, right before the World Series starts.
I think it's fair to say the most likely scenario is Skubal stays and leaves eventually for nothing but a qualifying offer. But I'm not sure like what the percentages on that are. I wonder if it's like 60-40. Like, I don't think a trade. Here's the reason we're talking about a trade. All right. There are a lot of reasons it makes baseball sense, whether it's popular or not, whatever. You got this guy for one more year. I'm not saying the Tigers have to go, quote unquote, all in. But unless there are plans to do something more drastic to get you over the 87 win ALDS hump, there's a real argument that you should trade him and get value. That's one reason we're talking about. The second reason, Scott Harris, president of baseball operations, sat in front of the Detroit Tigers baseball world and was asked, like, is this a decision point? Is this a topic this offseason, the idea of a Skubal trade? And he said, I can't comment on that. I can't comment on contracts, free agency, players, other teams' players. He at least had the chance to say, we're not going to trade him. We expect him to be back in 2026. And he didn't say that. And I don't know that that's wrong because, hey, if you're Scott Harris, probably doesn't hurt to at least hear offers from the rest of the league, right?
Right.
But he also made the conscious choice. Scott Harris, I say this all the time, he's a lot of things. He's not dumb. He knew by saying that speculation would follow. He knew he probably could have shut down said speculation. He did not. We're talking about this because it sure seems like the Tigers are operating with all these options on the table. And as people who follow and analyze the team, that's part of our job, is to analyze the various options that exist. A trade may be unlikely. I don't think it's at all out of the realm of possibility, though.
Yeah. And again, like when it comes, like I was watching, it was Joel Sherman and Brian Kenny on MLB Network. And it's kind of funny, like they're both kind of admitting to being armchair GMs, but they're like, if I was a GM, I would be ruthless and take emotion out of everything. But then they were like, but I also wouldn't trade Tarik Skubal. so that just kind of gives you an idea of sort of the different opinions. And and options out there. But like, if you care about this stuff, if you think the game through, like we both do, like, trying to anticipate moves before they happen is part of it. And I did have fun with the thought exercise, even though it was exhausting. And like I said, I did have a gaff there, but we'll have plenty more time to talk about the Skubal elements here. We are on the cusp, Cody, of a World Series, one that I think could be a pretty fun one. Toronto and, of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers, quote, trying to ruin baseball again. You got yourself, it's time is now. Do you have any sort of World Series prediction you want to get off your chest? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Dodgers, but I think it's gonna go 6 or 7 games. I think it's going to be a close series featuring some good games. I'm gonna pick the Dodgers. I just think they have a better depth of talent. I think it's eventually going to win out. The starting pitching favors them a little bit, but the Jays can hit. The Jays have some things going for them too. I think it's going to be a good series. So even though I'm picking the Dodgers, a lot of people are like, foregone conclusion, Dodgers in 4 or 5. I don't really feel that way. I think we're going to see some close, tight-knit baseball games that are going to be decided in the late innings.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, the Dodgers, their reputation. You had the Shohei game that was legendary. Not, no offense, Rob Parker, but it was spectacular. No, it wasn't anything that was ordinary, but regardless, we'll move on. There's a lot of angles to approach this. The Blue Jays are hitting the ball, man. That's what I keep coming down to. They are hitting the ball right now, and the Dodgers a little bit quieter with the bats than you would think, which leads me to my World Series prediction, which is our DraftKings pick of the week, presented by DraftKings.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
That was the wrong thing.
DraftKings, the crown is yours, of course. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of look at this if you're looking to have fun with some of the props with the World Series, Cody. There's a lot of options there. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that I'm looking at the odds right now. If you just think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, the odds on that are -215. The Blue Jays are +180. All right, so those are pretty standard numbers. It's a substantial favorite for the Dodgers. But if you believe that the Dodgers are going to, win the series, chances are they're going to win Game 1, because the Game 1 winner wins the World Series at about a 63-ish% clip, give or take there. If you do Dodgers to win Game 1 and Dodgers to win the series, it's +115. It's a lot better than -215, right? If you want to get really frisky, like I'm about to do with my pick, then you go Dodgers to win Game 1 and Blue Jays to win the series. You can get that at +650, Cody, which I think, I'm not saying it's the most likely to happen. It's obviously not, given the numbers. It's the most fun. You got Blake Snell on the mound in Game 1, who's been excellent this postseason. And obviously there's a little bit probably of a hangover after a 7-game series. But after that, the Blue Jays have the ability to get their pitching aligned exactly as they want it. Like I said, they're hitting the ball real well. I like this as the fun pick. So that is my pick, presented by DraftKings. LA Dodgers to win Game 1, Toronto Blue Jays to win the series as +650. And I'll just read out the other ones if you want. Toronto Blue Jays to win Game 1 and Dodgers to win the series +300. But here's interesting. Toronto win Game 1, Toronto to win the series +310. So that gives you an idea of Game 1, they really value that. It's only it's a little bit difference there between those two. So there's a lot of fun props in there. I recommend you guys go on DraftKings and find them, because you can do hitter, who's going to have more hits, who's going to have the most home runs, all that stuff. A lot of fun. I found this was the most fun.
All right, now you guys got to listen to the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, coming back here. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do some looking back. You know, it's going to be if we don't look back now, Cody, at the 2025 season, we're going to get so into off-season mode, we're going to forget some things. So I thought this would be a good time to just kind of go back, and I was like, I'm just gonna find 25 numbers, 25 stats, just to kind of summarize the Tigers season. So that's what we're gonna do here. I didn't really have an agenda. I just kind of looked through the various internet sites and found numbers that I found interesting. Some very basic, some that I kind of had to cross-reference and see if it's real or not. And we'll just lay them out there. I haven't told you any of these, Cody, so we're just gonna get your honest reactions to them. And all
right, and we got a lot of numbers to get to. Let's get after it.
All right, here's one: 1,454. That is the amount of strikeouts by Tigers hitters in the 2025 season. That is fifth most in baseball, Cody. So not too
surprised. Thinking strikeout rate, they finished fifth in total strikeouts. I watched almost all of them.
Yeah, and Seattle, there's a lot of these numbers that they're close with Seattle, and it's like, I could see why they would spend a decisive Game 5 going 6 hours to figure out who's a better team, because they were aligned very similarly. Another one, this is not a surprise either, but it is jarring when you look at it. 61. That is the amount of stolen bases by the Tigers this year. By far the fewest in baseball. I mean, it's like it's one of those things where you know it at the time. The leader was Tampa Bay at 194. The Tigers had 61 stolen bases on the year. Just not even trying. Like,
yeah, I've never quite understood it. I don't consider myself a huge stolen base guy. I understand the mathematical reasons to not do it. The Tigers did steal successfully at a 79% clip, which is about top 10 in the league. They have a few guys who I think you can expect to be safe at even greater than a 79% clip. It depends who's on the mound. It depends on what their time to home plate is, but I just tend to think certain guys could go a little bit more than they do.
Yeah, well, that kind of leads to the next stat, because one of the sort of paradoxes of the team is that athletically, it's not like they weren't capable of stealing bases, because they were third in Major League Baseball in triples with 36 triples as a team. So obviously, there's a speed element to a triple, and base running ability, plus, not to mention the taking the extra base thing. So they were certainly capable of it. It was just actively not stealing bases. So that was their thing.
Yeah,
we'll see if it becomes a thing later.
Comerica Park's one of the best parks for triples almost every year. Wonder if that factors into not stealing too, because you do have a greater chance to get that extra base, as the Tigers do very well. So maybe why risk that trying to take second? I don't know. I'd say you risk that because you move a guy into scoring position. But the triples thing doesn't actually surprise me, and they do have a few guys, Zach McKinstry and others, who can run the bases fast as almost anyone.
But here's one that did surprise me: 244 doubles, which was only 23rd in Major League Baseball. Like,
that's not good.
I actually kind of felt alarming to me. I was like, 23rd in doubles.
I think that's a great stat. Not something we've talked about all year long. This is a team that had some decent power. What'd they finish with home runs? 9th or 10th, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But no doubles power. So did you actually have power? Were you actually a good slugging team, especially, again, the Comerica Park factor? Plenty of gaps to turn singles into doubles. that worries me. I don't like that.
I feel like that's got to be part of the formula moving forward, is that they got to be a better gap hitting team in 2026, because as much as like as fun of a ride as 2024 was with the seemingly impossible playoff run, and 2025 was like unbelievable at the beginning, and then you have the collapse in September. The next number is 1, as in you only had one more win in 2025 than you had in 2024, which again makes sense when you think about it. But like think about what we were talking about and how like the fan base was feeling up into through the All-Star break, really, Cody, and then you end up with just one win more than the previous year.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons the Tigers, I swear, they're so hard to talk about like properly. I don't know. Is it this way for every team? Because you have half the fan base who's like, oh, they're great. They're so set up well. Why do they get criticized so much? And then, of course, you have those who think they're doing everything terribly. And it's like, well, they are coming off back-to-back postseason runs. They do have a good farm system. They do still have a bright future. This team still hasn't won 90 games yet. I remember before the 2022 season, AJ Hinch kind of being like, well, 90 wins is really the target. That's really where you want to be to ensure you can get yourself into playoff position. And that was a long time ago, and they haven't done it. They haven't won the division. In 120 plus other years of Major League Baseball, the Tigers would not be a playoff team in either of the past 2 seasons. They're beneficiaries of the expanded playoff. So although they have a lot of things going well, they're not good enough yet. I think that's like a fact we can say, and it doesn't have to be like derogatory or blasting anyone, but the bar's got to be a little bit higher to win your division, to win 90 plus games, to have the potential to be a championship team.
Yeah. And again, tough way to talk about it. This is another one, 6 All-Stars. This
only won 87 games.
And they only won 87 games. And then it's like, how do you feel about, and we'll have all offseason to talk about this, like, how do you feel about Casey Mize, and how do you feel about Zach McKinstry?
All of those All-Stars other than, well, Skubal included. There's a question around every single one of them
in some way or another. So yeah, do you retain one of them in Gleyber Torres's case? So yeah, that's again hard to talk about, because there's a certain,
the Tigers just play a normal season next year. That's my wish. Historic comeback one year, historic collapse the next. How about like a somewhat consistent good season? It'd be a lot easier on everybody, right?
It would, but that tells me that it's not going to happen. So here's one, because this guy wasn't an All-Star, but he certainly has the bat and a star profile, and that's Kerry Carpenter. Kerry Carpenter had his worst defensive season by defensive WAR metrics. He was negative 0.7 defensive WAR. As we try to figure out ways for this team to improve, obviously there's going to be outfielders that are going to be in consideration, either via trade or free agency or whatever. And it's like, well, what do you do with Kerry Carpenter? He doesn't want to be, nor they want him to be, basically a full-time DH. But it's like, I don't know if you like, do you feel comfortable putting him out there for 140 games in right field? I don't know. It's just something to consider.
It's a question. There are times Kerry looks a lot better, much improved, had some very nice plays this year. But I think you're right. The more we see of him out there, the more we see him out there in a bigger sample, it is like, well, he's maybe still a little bit of a minus defender. I think I think you can live with it, though.
How you feel about him as an outfielder is going to determine a lot about what you kind of parse out the rest of your batting order / fielding lineup or whatever. So guys like McKinstry and Keith kind of come to mind. All right, this is probably something that took the might have held back the team more than anything else. Parker Meadows and Matt Vierling combined for -1 WAR in 2025. They were 5.2 combined in 2024. And so you basically got nothing from them this year. And we know it, but like that's if you would have told us that before the season, we would have called that a very tall hill to overcome. And
definitely an unfortunate break. I don't like the idea of using that as like, well, everything, they're going to be back. They're going to be healthy. 2026 team is automatically better. Because I hate to say it, but pretty good chance you'll probably like have two guys on next year's team also missing similar chunks of time. That's just like how these things tend to work.
Yeah. Well, let's get a little bit more positive. Dylan Dingler was a 3.1 WAR player this past year, Cody. That is the best since Alex Avila in 2011, who was I think like 5.2 or 5.3 WAR that season. Dylan Dingler had himself like in his like at least this century, an historic catching season for the Tigers. I didn't go back that far, but like
yeah, it was just for the past decade. I don't know if that quite is like historic, but he was really good. He's really good. I'm very interested to see if he can continue to perform the way he did at the plate this season, because the future is very bright for Dylan Dingler. Is he really a 270 plus hitter? Maybe a little skeptical, but I think there's also an argument that he could be a guy who gets closer to like 18, 19, 20 home runs next season. He's got some pop in the bat. Very excited to see what the future holds for Dingler, no doubt.
All right, another number here. Spencer Torkelson had an 884 OPS versus lefties. That was 25th best in baseball.
That's good. That'll play.
And that's a little bit behind Gleyber Torres, who was just a little bit ahead of him. But, you don't know what his services are going to be. I think you'll take Torque being the 25th best OPS guy against lefties next year. It seems like a good thing for the lineup.
That was another one of the things we wouldn't have predicted coming into the year. Not necessarily Torkelson, but the lineup as a whole. There was all this talk. Are they too left-handed? They ended up being fourth best against left-handed pitching as a whole. With Torkelson, as you just stated, a pretty big reason for that.
All right, we're going to get to some more stats that define the 2025 Tigers. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Let's take you through the Arena Club Slab Pack experience. This is part 2 because Todd Father last week pulled a card that he didn't love, yet he sold it back for actually more than what the slab pack cost. This time, pulls a card that he likes.
Yeah, and this is the best part of it. Ronnie Mauricio, the Mets standout, rookie sensation. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I like the itch of seeing what you're going to get. I like prospects. I don't love them, but seeing this kind of card is actually absolutely beautiful thing. I know a couple people around town that would absolutely love that card. So there's going to be a lot of conversations going on here for Arena Club.
And what you do is you have it in your digital showroom. If you want to hand it out locally, then cool. You ask Arena Club to send it to you, and they do, or you can sell it back like you see there. Instant offer for $193, but he's keeping it. And you can do what Todd Father does by going to arenaclub.com/Val and getting 20% off your first card purchase or your first slab pack purchase.
A couple quick announcements as we get going here. If you guys could help us out, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just hit that subscribe button. Helps us out as much as anything. And to be honest, kind of tired of seeing other foul territory properties like Cardinal territory, Crush City territory, a little bit of a friendly rivalry there. They've surpassed us in numbers. What's up, guys? Come on, help us out a bit. And if you also want to support the show, we got merch, tigerterritoryshop.com. You can scan the QR code. Mugs, caps, shirts, hoodies. Hoodie especially good. Getting a little dreary here in Michigan. How about a nice Tiger Territory hoodie to get you through the fall?
Do recommend, and we appreciate everybody who has already purchased something and or has subscribed on YouTube and Apple and Spotify and all that stuff. We appreciate everyone. All right, here's one. Jackson Jobe, is he just a winner? He had a 4-1 record as a starter in 10 starts this year, Cody, and a guy that's like, I guess we're due a medical update from the Tigers here relatively for a lot of guys. They said they would send one out. To my knowledge, they have not.
Still waiting.
So like that's a guy whose progress is obviously pretty key in shaping, how to anticipate the pitching rotation and what moves to make or whatever for 2026. So,
well, beyond 20, I'm not really counting on him, at all in 2026. Then we talked about this at the time, but then he comes into 2027 And he's still kind of a total question mark. He's barely pitched in the major leagues. It's such an unfortunate injury with really unfortunate timing, both for Job and the franchise.
Yep. And another kind of easy one, 67 combined home runs between Spencer Torkelson and Riley Greene. That was obvious. I mean, as cynical as you get, and as and you, the general you, as cynical as you get, and as frustrating as it is to kind of watch these guys' journeys in different ways, with strikeouts this year with Greene, Torque with a couple times being optioned down the AAA. This was kind of partially the pipe dream when those guys were drafted, in the first round, 1-1 in Torque's case, and these offensive dudes that kind of help lead you to the playoffs and a couple rounds deep into the playoffs. And from a macro perspective, there's a success element there that sometimes you forget in the day to day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Both players have room to get better, but here they are leading the Tigers to the playoffs. Both 30 home run guys in the middle of the order, very, very early in their careers. As you said, kind of how this was drawn up a little bit. Both can improve, but you have two pretty legit power bats in the middle of your order, and that is a good place to start.
And we'll stick with Riley Greene. Riley Greene was, and the metrics just hate Riley Greene, despite the fact that defensively, and now I'm talking about defense. He was 2 outs above average, but a negative 1.3 D WAR, Cody. It was just they did not like him at all. He has the highlights. I'm not doubting the numbers, but figuring out a way for him to be, I think, what he's capable of defensively would probably go a long way to this team, taking a next step, because you can't have a left fielder, I think, that's negative WAR to that extent, especially one who has his talent level, in my opinion.
Well, concerning that young in his career, I've pointed multiple times throughout the year at how much he slowed down, and that's reflected in his sprint speed data. And for those who doubt that he didn't have a good year defensively, I would be hopefully it finds a way to improve next year, but watch the game, watch the plays. Don't just watch the slide or the jump or the dive. I think although he has great instincts and a knack for highlight plays, he's not afraid to sacrifice his body, which should be appreciated. I think he's diving for some balls that other outfielders might not be diving for. They'd be getting there standing up. I just think he's slowed down. Some balls were dropping in front of him. The arm is really not very good. Concerns me as much as anything. On the flip side of that, one thing we haven't talked about, Riley Greene did get through the year without going on the IL. And that was a big question for him. And I'm sure he's playing through some things. AJ Hinch even said at one point this year that he was, quote, always on the verge of something. Well, he never went over that edge. He was able to stay healthy, and even though his production waned at times, I do think he deserves some credit for being able to stay on the field and post for the Tigers.
I agree. And that, again, sometimes important perspectives to be had there. How about this? Your leading hit man in the postseason, Javier Baez, 10 hits in the postseason. No one else had double digits. Carpenter was just behind him with 9. But Javier Baez, and I'm going to go to twofer here. Javier Baez, 10 hits in the postseason, and second stat related to him, only 3 strikeouts, which was the lowest of any regular among the Tigers in the postseason.
Doesn't surprise me, man. Postseason Javi was a lot of fun to watch. It'd be nice if you could just tap into that all year round. I'm not expecting that, but hey, reassuring to know there's something still in there.
Yeah, and a lot of fun key hits as well. Not empty calories there for Javi. And then sometimes we talk about the Torres decline, and then we find out that he was playing through a hernia. Here's a sort of a stat visualization. He was I know batting averages, whatever, but he batted 281 in the first half, and he was 223 in the second half. So you just talk about just a steep decline in production there. That kind of illustrated the best for me.
Yeah, not much more to say. The numbers speak for itself, and the hernia thing was clearly affecting him. Sucks because he cost himself a lot of money wherever he ends up. I think that second half will unfortunately reflect negatively upon him in free agency. maybe that increases the odds of a return to Detroit. But kind of a reminder of how fickle the game can be. Sometimes one injury, you're not at your best, and that'll ding you on the open market.
Yeah. And again, like doing this exercise was a lot of fun because it's like you're reminded of the things that you spent a lot of time thinking about at the time, but now it seems like silly, like the Manuel Margot stuff and Ryan Kreidler things. And
Margot, that is so easy to forget that he was on this baseball team.
Opened the season with them. They had a controversial play at home plate against the Dodgers, who are in the World Series now. So speaking of that, we spent a lot of time talking about, like, what do you do with Jace Young? Jace Young only had 55 plate appearances, Cody, for a 106 batting average. So just not even. I'm not trying to be mean here, but just like not even remotely a factor on this team. Like,
no, and is he going to enter spring training like out of sight, out of mind a little bit? I guess he'll be in sight, but it doesn't. Especially with McGonigal, Max Anderson, how you Lee on the rise. Like, I mean, his left-handedness somewhat bodes well for him, but it seems he's in danger of being passed over. It's going to be a big offseason and a big spring for Jace Young.
Well, another guy who that probably falls into the category is Justin Henry Malloy, who, by the way, we look at it because he just didn't, he wasn't with the team and he didn't get that many opportunities. He still managed in 127 plate appearances to post a 346 on base percentage. So, like, that's the stat right there, which makes me think, can we find a way to get this guy some sort, and he's got to have responsibility for it too, some sort of regular, like, role, Yeah,
they don't want to play him in the field. That's what it comes down to. I don't know, 346 OBP. That's kind of exactly what this lineup needs. Yeah, you wish there were a way to make that work a little more easily. And it does raise the question, well, we just talked about Kerry Carpenter's defense. We just talked about Riley Greene's defense. Where's the line between what you can live with and what you can't? I don't know the answer to that question, but I wonder if it'd be worth taking a harder look at that given the on-base ability Jahan has.
Yeah, I'm gonna be wishing for that as long as he is a member of this organization. And but one of the more positive developments, now it was hot to start there for a second, it cooled off, but how about Wenzel Perez he's got 6 career home runs off of left-handed pitching, 5 of them this past year. Like a little bit of a revelation there, Yeah,
it was a game changer for Wenzel. Made him way more valuable. Be highly interested to see if he can repeat that. Obviously, a rough finish and rough postseason, but I think he's still someone that is going to be among the most interesting players in camp come February.
Yeah, and another guy who is going to be interesting and or kind of out of sight, out of mind is one Trey Sweeney. Trey Sweeney made 81 starts at shortstop.
What? 81?
That's
so hard to believe.
He started half the season for the Tigers at shortstop in 2025. And in starts, so I didn't take into account when he came and pinch hit or, whatever. In starts, he only had a 311 slug. It just
some good. Of these things, every now and then, sometimes I have a hard time seeing how the Tigers are going to win 90 plus. And sometimes it's like, well, maybe the path isn't that hard. Just don't have to play Trey Sweeney at short for 81 games, assuming he's not performing markedly better. And then that'll boost your win total by a win or two right there.
Very true. All right. Here's a fun stat. We talk about Skubal and his value. When Skubal went 7+ innings in 2025, the Tigers were 12-1. Now that one loss was a 1-0 loss at Kansas City at the end of May. So 12-1 when Skubal got to 7+, and he was we know this watching, like he was on the verge of getting through getting through that threshold a lot, but he came like 1 or 2 batters short. AJ likes the matchup, takes him out, blah blah blah. But 12-1 when he got to set through 7 innings.
We're a week into this. We got Tarik. I hope you're not listening. If you are, just turn off your phone. Go play golf, man. We got to sit here and talk about all these aspects. Hope you're able to unplug from all the noise around you right now.
Well, stick with them for a second. One, Maddox, and that was on May 25th. So talk about two really, really good starts back to back there. May 25th, we remember he had the Maddox. He had 9 innings, 2 hits, 13 Ks, 94 pitches. One of the more fun games of the season to watch
amazing.
and experience if you guys were at the ballpark. Here's one that's not so fun, Cody. Tommy Kahnle, John Brebbia, Alex Cobb, Kenta Maeda combined for slotted about $35 million in salary for the 2025 season, and you got negative 0.9 WAR from those pitchers. The best was Alex Cobb, who was 0.0 because he did not pitch. Kahnle ended up at negative 0.1. So
again, just don't repeat that, and maybe you're gonna win 95 games. That's one of those things but when you hear it out loud with the WAR combined attached to it, it just hits all over again.
Sometimes maybe the point of this exercise, maybe it's really simple to build a baseball team. Scott, your job's not that hard.
Well, just don't totally mess up the pitching and don't play Trey Sweeney at shortstop 81 times when he's not producing. Anyone could do that, right?
Oh man, a guy we're going to spend a lot of time talking about too, and what is he going to be like in spring training? What his pitching? What did he do in the lab? Casey Mize. Well, he's going to have to be a lot better at the splitter, or he might have to abandon it again because opponents hit that splitter for a 297 clip in 2025, a number that was shockingly high when I looked at it.
Yeah, I think he had a negative run value. He even talked about this before one of his postseason starts, being like, you can look at the run value and feel like it's not that great of a pitch. It's still key to my arsenal. There were days this year where the Mize splitter was really good, and that's when he was at his best. But you're right. Even on some of those days, I think it got hit for a little bit of damage when he leaves it up. I wish that's got to be a positive run value pitch for him. Like it just does. He's so much better when he has that pitch going, but you got to hope he can find a way to become a little bit more consistent with it.
And in fairness, 260 was the expected batting average. So take that for
a little bit of bad luck on the splitter.
Yeah, so take that for what it's worth. And last but not least, this is actually kind of my favorite, Cody. We got to figure out what to do with Colt Keith. Like, where is he going to play? What's his ceiling? He improved a lot offensively. If you look at some of the numbers, 2024 to 2025, still very young. We all know this. We would consider, and bear with me for a second, we would consider Zach McKinstry a top-notch base runner, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So Zach McKinstry, 91 percentile in base running run value. Okay. Colt Keith, 89 percentile. Colt Keith, 89 percentile. Is Colt Keith just thick Zach McKinstry, who by the way both also are in the same percentile in launch angle sweet spot.
Launch angle sweet spot, 96%. Colt said before, I'm fast. I'm trying to tell you guys, and he's all right. 66th percentile in sprint speed. Some of y'all are out here trying to trade Colt Keith. I don't really know where he's going to play. He's not a perfect puzzle piece right now, but improved his exit velocity from 87.8 as a rookie to 90 miles an hour on average last season. Raised his walk rate from 6.5% to 10.3%. There are just a lot of signs. Barrel rate went way up. There are a lot of signs that are pretty encouraging from Colt Keith. I'm kind of picking the Colt Keith breakout year next year.
I was about to say, eventually we're going to do a, breakout or this guy, this gets going and takes the team over the top type deal. He'll be pretty high on the list. Colt Keith is going to be pretty high on the list there.
Careful before you try to trade Colt Keith.
Third year in the majors, gets a little pop going. We'll see. We shall see. And, the Tigers front office loves him because he's got that team-friendly contract. So yeah, that's it. 25 stats to define the 2025 Tigers. A fun exercise. If you guys have any numbers, random, interesting, whatever, feel free to hit us up at Cody Stavenhagen. I'm at Kieran _Steckley. pod page at Tiger Territory _ You can comment on our YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Apple. You guys know what to do. We appreciate all of you. Please subscribe to YouTube if you have not, so we can continue to grow this show going into the second year of this iteration of the podcast. So, like I said, appreciate all of you. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.